I'm stealing this video straight from MandRproductions. That is right. Sorry, M&R. This is my video now. Welcome to the ultimate LEGO Star Wars Rebel Scout Speeder versus Imperial Dropship review from we got 2024, 2019, and 2008 here to review. I'm going to be ranking the LEGO Star Wars sets based off a few different categories. Those categories being minifigures, playability, design, and value. So before we actually get into the video, I'm just going to go over some basic information about each set. So this is set 7667 Imperial Dropship, released in 2008 with 4 minifigures. And it originally cost £9.79. Yes, a tenner for this. However, adjusted for inflation, you're looking at about £15.51, which is still cheaper than a battle pack in 2024. The Scout Speeder, similarly, also released in 2008, set 7668, also cost £9.79, adjusted for inflation at £15.51. Then we have set 75265 Imperial Dropship 20th Anniversary Edition, released in 2019. This included, again, 5 minifigures this time, with I don't have Han Solo. Yes, because I got this second hand, so Han Solo was not included. But here's an image on screen of what should be included. This originally costed £19.99, so the price of a battle pack in 2024, but adjusted for inflation, that's £24.89. £25 for this? Not really seeing it. Also, there was no Rebel Scout ship for it to go with, so it's on its own. Lastly, of course, there was set 46755 Imperial Dropship versus Rebel Scout Speeder, costing £35 in 2024. This was part of the 25th anniversary and did include this exclusive astromech droid. So our first category here are the minifigures, and we have a lot of them to get through. Starting with 2008, the Imperial Dropship, we have just some basic stormtroopers. We have 3 regular stormtroopers, plus this really cool shadow trooper. Also, they have 2 regular blasters and 2 long blasters. Similarly, with the Rebels, we have 2 long blasters, 2 short blasters. However, all of these Rebel pilots were identical. They are all exactly the same. So I kind of like the shadow trooper inclusion, just a little bit more exclusive. 2019 brought back that shadow trooper and 3 updated stormtroopers. The printing is just much nicer. However, they did include stud shooters, which isn't really a knock against the minifigures themselves. And then finally, in 2024, we have a whopping 7 minifigures. 3 updated Scout Troopers with much nicer printing. Would have been nice to have dual molded legs as well to get their boots in. But yeah, it's much nicer looking. And 3 Stormtroopers. Another really cool thing about the Rebel Troopers is they had double-sided faces to give different expressions. And also with the Stormtroopers is that they had a much diverse cast in skin tone and also characters. Whereas in 2019, they all used the angry clone face, which, you know, it was a phase LEGO went through. I'm not saying it was a good phase, but all the way in 2008, they just used the black heads. So here comes the argument. Which set has the best minifigures? Well, that has to go to 2024. 7 minifigures in one set. Very nicely detailed figures at that. It's gotta go to the best. Now remember, 2019 also had a 5th figure in Han Solo, who will be on screen now. But I feel like that exclusive figure also is the same as this QT, so kind of cancels each other out. But I would argue that the QT goes very nicely with the Rebel Troopers, whereas the yellow skin tone of the Han Solo doesn't match the rest of this set's vibe. So I'm going to give it a knock against that. But speaking of which, I am going to put 2019 in second place for minifigures. Because yes, there are more minifigures over here, but you got to remember, you're buying these two separately. This is one set, this is a second set. So to get these 8 minifigures, you have to buy both sets. This is 5 minifigures in one set compared to 4 minifigures in one set. So 3 points, 2 points, 1 point. So if it has not become clear to you, what we're going to do is we're going to add up all of the scores at the end, and whoever has the most points will get the highest, will be the winner. Much like my ultimate reviews. Onto the playability. Alright, so starting with 2008, we'll get the Imperial Dropship out the way first. It is a very basic playability, you know, you can fly it around, you know, that is more of a design thing that we'll get into later. It's swooshable. You can put, again, that's also design, but we'll mention that. You can put your minifigures in, so we'll get our Shadow Trooper. You can put their weapons, actually, right on this bit here to act as the guns of the weapons, and then you can sit your stormtroopers like that. There we go. And yeah, that's what you can do. Like, you can have the stormtroopers swinging about while you're flying the ship around. It's got these 2 blasters. No actual shooting feature on this, but yeah. And then, of course, well, that's just knocked up. This thing is quite delicate, but yeah, the main play feature of this entire thing that you've already seen me do about 4 times at this point is you can fly the dropship in, and then you pull this up, and you can drop your stormtroopers off, and then you can fly away. Now, the only problem I have with this is that this guy's one of the stormtroopers. When they get dropped off, they just don't have a weapon because their weapon's there. The Rebel Scout Speeder is much more, I don't know, better, I guess, as a play feature. It's got this engine at the back you can spin, and it's got inverted tiles, making it nice and easy to slip around. Got a nice cannon at the top, and you can place all 4 of your minifigures in there. So you can have one manning the turret, and then you can put all 4 of your minifigures just like so. I do like how there's a nice dent so the helmet can fit in, but yeah. So you can have you got these guns on the side so you can shoot at people perhaps that are coming close to you. Then you got obviously this turret, but the main feature of this turret is that you can actually take it off and have it as its own separate thing. So you can have this little outpost turret thing going around, and then this speeder bike speeding around. Now we come to 2019, and it's going to have much of the same playability, where you can put your troopers' weapons in the actual on the ship, just like so. You can then put your Shadow Trooper in the pilot seat, nice and easily done. Then you can also sit all of your minifigures down on the dropship. It can fly away, it's much more durable, so it's easier to fly around. You've got the engines back here, and of course it retains the exact same feature of being able to drop off your stormtroopers and fly away. However, This one also has stud shooters, which, if you don't know, you just press down on this little button here and then you lose them forever. Much like the problem with the Imperial Dropship, that as soon as you drop off your stormtroopers, like, they don't have their weapons. Like, I just wish that the gun rack was actually on this bit of the ship rather than on this bit of the ship. However, much like the old one, where you can have these guns be playable features, these guns are also used to actually shoot. And these ones you can actually move around a bit more. You can have two facing backwards as well. So you can have some rear guns, as well as some forward-facing ones. And of course, these guns actually shoot, which is just a much better for playability, I feel. And then, of course, lastly, 2024, you have both the Dropship and the Rebel Scout Speeder. We'll start with the Dropship again. So you can, of course, you can put your minifigures in said Dropship. Oh dear, that's never happened to me before. Like so. You also have clips on the side to actually hold their weapons. However, there are only 2 clips, so you can have one for the driver, one for this stormtrooper, and then this other one just has to hold their weapon. Which isn't a bad thing, but yeah, it just means one has to hold it. It's very thick, very strong, so no worry about it breaking. It also has stud shooters, these time vertically stud shooters, and this time it's also integrated into the ship rather than it being the minifigure's weapons. And then of course you have the same function as if you pull on this, you can drop the Imperials off and then you can just fly away. And of course, the thing I've been complaining about is solved with this set, because the actual weapons are held on the bit that gets dropped off. So the stormtroopers can actually grab their weapons when they're dropped off and be fighting at the rebels. With the Rebel Scout Speeder, it's much thicker design. It's quite a bit smaller. You've got 2 boosters. It's got inverted tires as well, so you can roll it around on hard surfaces. You've got this nice turret, which of course you can sit minifigures in. However, the one thing I will say is that there's nowhere to store these minifigure weapons. These minifigures just have to hold their weapons like this while they sit in their Scout Speeder. There is enough for all 3 minifigures, and much like the old one, you can take this turret off and pop it on the floor. However, there's more design thing, but the helmet comes off every time. There's also space to keep your extra studs, and you can also put in the gunner's weapon in there, and it will just sit on naturally like that. So there's space for 1 gun in there, but probably not for the other 2. This is it's a much smaller cannon. If you compare it to this Rebel Speeder bike, which is the comparison, it's a much smaller tower. That's not really doing it. It wasn't looking on camera. It's a much smaller tower, as you can see. However, with the newer tower, you can adjust the angle of the gun, which is good. You can so you can actually shoot at the Imperial Dropship as it's flying, and 2, it has stud shooters. So you can actually shoot at the enemies as they fly in. So which set had the best playability? Well, I think the best set with the best playability has got to be the 2024 version. Having both the Imperial and the Rebel Scout Speeder all in the same set is brilliant, because then you can actually have this versus battle. The turret is much better. You can actually shoot with the turret and with the ship. And, you know, it's just, it contains the same playability as the 2008 one, but with the addition of the turret can move, as in, like, up and down. You can actually shoot. You can actually shoot with this ship and with the turret. And you can actually have a versus battle. Now, this is great when it comes to playability. However, you got to remember, this is 2 separate sets. You have to buy them both together. This is 1 set. And yes, unfortunately, there is no second set to go with it. But the added stud shooters do give it that little bit extra playability. Plus, you also have a Han Solo minifigure. Yes, it's not exactly... I should also probably mention, yeah, you have a extra minifigure to play with here. It is made for display, but it is there. You also got to remember this has a Han Solo minifigure, which I don't have. Which, theoretically, yes, it doesn't look as good. Yes, it doesn't really fit with the vibe, but you theoretically could have a Han Solo taking on the Stormtroopers. This, you have to buy 2 sets to be able to have the same playability this one has in 1. But then you do get more minifigures. It's a toss-up. It's really a toss-up. I don't see... I don't know which one's better. You know, I'm going to say the 2008 one has slightly better playability than the 2019 one. This is going to get 3, this is going to get 2, and this is going to get 1. Right, now we're moving on to the design category, which has the better design. Wow, let's move all of this out the way and talk about 2008. As you saw with this Imperial Dropship, it was very flimsy. So this was able to fall off very easily. These came off very easily, and I think the worst design, personally, is the actual dropship, the dropping platform itself. One, when you're flying it around, this wriggles, it spins very easily, and I wasn't even doing it that hard, and you can see it fell. But that's not even the worst bit. The worst bit is that this bit here, this piece, is very easy to just come off. It is super easy to just, and I just knocked off a Stormtrooper to fall off, and I really don't like that. I don't like it at all. But I think with the dropships as well, you also have to acknowledge, when you remove all the Stormtroopers, that is what you have. This is what you're left with. Very plain, boring platform. And, you know, it's got the black panels. The engines are quite cool as well. And the ability to lift it up. All the way back, not so good, but, you know, it is quite nice. This Rebel Scout Speeder without the cannon, you know, it's a Rebel Scout Speeder. And, you know, theoretically, you could all, like, if you had an extra minifigure, you could have an extra minifigure on this. And then you can also have your cannon. The cannon is quite nice, it spins freely. And this is a very strong design. I really like this design. And the single engine, the worst bit I think is just the back. The back doesn't look good. The single engine design, not very nice. No thrust or anything. It's just a bit boring. 2019, however, really improved the strength of the design. The wobble has gone. So if you can see, these pieces here mean that this wobble is practically non-existent. There's like a little bit of shaking there to it, but it's not going to become flying off. And also the strength of it, like I can really shake this around. This platform not coming off, unlike this one. I really like this angular shape here. Like it's meant to be reminiscent of this shape, but with a little bit more, I don't know, it looks a little bit more dynamic, a little bit more sharp, which I really do like. However, I don't like that it's in blue. That's the one thing I don't like. Why is it in blue? This, I really feel like should have been black, just to match, like, because I feel like with this, they were trying to go with the whole, you know, like a TIE fighter, the panels of a TIE fighter being black. And I liked that. I really did. But yeah, with this, I really feel like, I don't know, the blue just stands out to me in a poor way. The shape is nice, but I wish it just was blue. The engines, basically built the exact same way. The drop-in feature built the exact same way. However, you do gotta realize, this is what you're left with. I do like the Imperial's logos on the side of here, but, you know, I don't know, it's still kind of ugly. A little bit better than just a plain platform, but you gotta also acknowledge, this holds 3, this holds 4. However, this one, its platform only holds 2, so why are we going down? Right? If this tiny little thing was able to hold 4 additional stormtroopers, why is this big chunky thing only holding 2? That doesn't make sense to me. Moving past that, the actual design of this ship is amazing. Like, they really refined it. I love that the stormtrooper is completely enclosed. Like, these ones just had big gaps in them, which weren't very nice. This one really cleans up the model. No gaps. The slight angle of this as well, like the nose pointing down, is a very nice touch. It's actually built with a ball joint in there like this, and it doesn't like move around or anything. It's just to get that angle so beautifully, and then the like got this curve, and then it curves back around to here. It's just very elegant. Now, the design of the wing bit here, they kind of did a crossbreed between the 2019 one and the 2008 one, having this main body of it being blue and then these black little pieces on the side. To be honest, this is probably the weakest part of the build for me personally. I probably, like, if they had maybe used this piece, let's test it now. Maybe that, ooh, actually, no, that looks really nice. I do really like that. I think, like, would have give the stormtroopers a little bit more protection as well. And, like, again, this in black, maybe in blue, I mean, it kind of matches, but I think this in black would have definitely been very, very nice on this ship. I just think using this piece, oh, yeah, I like that. That was the first time I've done that. Yeah, at the drop-in, you just pull this out. It's attached by a clip, which is very nice, very strong. And also, there is no actual, you know, when this is in, I put the stormtrooper back on. Yeah, it's not going anywhere. Yeah, it's got a little bit of rattle, but yeah, this is not moving. As you're flying this around, that platform is not going anywhere. This, oh dear, knocked my camera. Very nicely designed. It is, oh dear, knocking it again. Very beautiful. Look, just the shaping of it. It's a much, like chunkier build. This is much sleeker, but very basic and boring. You gotta admit. But like, if you put them both down, they're actually pretty much the same length. However, this has a longer engine thing with the engine intake. Well, it's got engine intakes as well with these, which are very nicely designed. And then, of course, the thrusters at the back. Whereas this, no. However, again, this also has the guns on the side, which are nicely held, whereas this one doesn't. But yeah, the design of this one is very, very gorgeous, very pretty. The splash of dark red in there is much nicer. I don't really appreciate the white and the tan in this. It's just a bit odd to me, whereas the dark red really works for Rebels, I feel like. The ladder to actually be able to get up onto the turret. You got the console here. I do like the lever they used here, but this is just a much nicer build. Maybe the stud shooters here kind of detract from the sleekness of the cannon, but... However, one thing I will say about the 2008 dropship and the 2019 dropship is that they both feel like they're missing an additional figure. The Rebel Scout Trooper fills out all of its seat, and you know, it has 4 rebels, and it feels complete. It feels like that's what it was made for. The Imperial Dropship, missing a Stormtrooper. They really just needed to include one additional Stormtrooper to just, my days, this Stormtrooper, to fill out the roster. But then, of course, they would have had to include another minifigure for that, because this has 5, this has 4, but then there would be nowhere for that additional a Rebel Trooper to go, which would have been, you know, a shame. The Imperial Dropship does everything right. It includes one less seat on the back, but again, it has enough troopers to fill out all of its seats. The 2019 one, however, yes, it does have enough troopers to fill out all of its seats, but again, it only has a regular Stormtrooper as your pilot. Where is my Imperial Shadow Trooper? They made one for 2019. Why wasn't it included in the new set? Of course, then the question goes, if they would have included the Imperial Stormtrooper, then there would have been one Stormtrooper who just is not able to sit on the Imperial Dropship, but also the Rebels would have needed an additional figure. And who other to include in this anniversary set than Rebel Friend? And I feel like that's what they should have done. They should have included an Imperial Shadow Trooper for the Imperial side, and then they should have included Rebel Friend for the Rebel side. Of course, this is a very bad custom-made Rebel Friend. They would have included updated printing, but if you were going to include Rebel Friend in any set, this should have been the set to include him. Well, it begs the question, who is the best design? And I've got to go, still, it's the 2019 one. It is just perfect. Yes, it doesn't have Rebel Friend. Yes, it doesn't have the Imperial Shadow Trooper, but the design of the actual build itself is phenomenal. It is great, and they will look perfect on display. This is a great design set, and of course, the versus aspect of it is really nice. The worst design, this was 2008, and especially that Rebel Speeder, really, you know, it doesn't look as nice as the newer one, but it still plays and functions, and it's really strong. But then this is really weak, whereas this one is very strong. But the stud shooters do give it a knock on the design, so it's a bit of a toss-up. But I think I'm going to give the nod to 2008. So 3 points, 2 points, and 1 point. Alright, now comes the value category. Which of these sets are the best for your bank? And I've just realized his helmet's on wrong. There we go. Right, so in 2008, we have the Imperial Dropship, originally costing just £9.79. Of course, adjusted for inflation, in 2024, that would be £15.51. So about a little bit bigger than, you know, a little bit more expensive than one of those microfighters. That was the word I was looking for. And is this about £5 more expensive than a microfighter? I think so, especially considering you get 3 more minifigures. The build is a little bit larger footprint, maybe less pieces, but it is, I'd say your value's there. Here, the exact same price of £15.51. That's also £15.51, if I didn't say that correctly. That is a much bigger build than a microfighter. And you get 4 minifigures. That is a really good value for £15.51. In 2019, when this was released, it was originally £19.99. Adjusted for inflation, that's about £24.85. So you're looking at £25 for this set, which is essentially this set. Yes, it includes the very exclusive Han Solo minifigure, but £25 for this? I don't see it. And of course, in 2019, we have £35 for this. No inflation needed. Now, is this really £35? Yes. Yes, it is. Because, now, if you look over here, these two sets, again, £15, £15, together, if you look here, that is £31.20. £31 and 2p. So this is £31, and this is 35. You get 8 minifigures here, you get 7 over here. Yes, one is exclusive to the set. You got smaller builds, more detailed, very nice builds. But you got one slightly smaller, one slightly larger build here. But is it worth £4 extra to just get, you know, one less minifigure, slightly smaller builds but higher detail? I think it is, to be honest with you. Yeah, it's quite close, but yeah, this is quite a nice deal. And it shows that LEGO really does do its research. So I think the value is kind of a toss-up between the 2008 and the 2019. If you want to spend the extra £4 to get better quality figures and better quality builds, go ahead. But if you, like, as a play point of view, for £4 cheaper, you get one extra minifigure, the same basic builds, the same basic playability, and you can still have that versus off, then yeah, I feel like this is also good value. So I'm going to give 3 points to 2008 and 3 points to 2024. 2019 is then going to get 1 point because this is just a terrible value. So I have tallied up all the scores, and this is what I have came to. In last place is the 2019 model with only 5 points. It's just not that good. Yeah, the minifigures is nice, and it's the only way to get this updated Imperial Shadow Trooper, as far as I'm aware. Well, the one with the weird helmet, at the least, where it like goes over and you can't actually move the head. It is still the only way to get that. Yes, it does include the Han Solo, but the build is just not very enjoyable. It makes some improvements from this one, but it just isn't. In second place is the 2008 version. These were brilliant. It scored 8 points, if you're wondering. These are brilliant. It was great for the time. There's a lot of nostalgia factor I have for it because I actually owned both of these sets as kids. It's still really good. Yeah, this build is slightly flimsy and the design doesn't look so amazing, but it's really good for play. They were cheap. The minifigures are, well, basic, good, and it's great for playability. You can have the battles that I had. It's just really nice, but it pales in comparison to what we have now. Yes, we have one less minifigure for each side, but we got an exclusive astromech droid, which would never have been made otherwise. If you don't know the story behind it, Google it. The builds are so much better. You've got the additional stud shooters for extra playability. Has the same playability as this older one. Looks nicer. The minifigures are better. And it's roughly the same price if this had been released today. So there we are. And if you're wondering, that's what the score sheet looked like altogether. There we go. Well, thank you for watching this video about me rambling on about Lego sets. If you want me to do more Lego videos in the future, please let me know, because I do have a lot of Lego I could possibly review. And I mean a lot. You can see an example right over there. MandRproductions, sorry for stealing your video. Not sorry for stealing your video though, because I wanted to do this myself anyway. So he does eventually do a comparison of these 3 sets. I will link it in either an iCard, if I can, or the link in the description when it does eventually come out, if the video comes out. And if you do want more LEGO Star Wars comparison videos, go check out MandRproductions. He is really good on that front, and he has way much more money than me, so he can actually afford to buy so many old LEGO sets and compare them. Specifically, more LEGO Star Wars. That's his area of expertise. Yeah, thank you for watching the ultimate LEGO Star Wars Imperial Dropship vs. Rebel Scout Speedo review. Check out other Ultimate reviews, and take care.